Hey, hi everyone. My name is Ange. Welcome to today's webinar hosted by Beck McPhee and myself. Today's webinar is on tips and tricks on how to adjust your recipes and meal plan. I will just do some quick housekeeping. So you've both got your cameras on, which is fantastic, and you can turn yourselves off mute, which is great. So please feel free to do that or put any questions or anything in the chat. But because we're a small group today, unless anyone else joins us, feel free to just raise your hand if you've got any questions and ask Beck as we go through this webinar. I will just read our acknowledgement of country and then I'll hand over to Beck. Diabetes Australia acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the traditional owners and custodians of this country. Today I'm coming to you from Nipaluna country, Hobart, of the Palawa people in Lutruwita, which is Tasmania. We recognise their connection to land, waters, winds and culture. We pay the utmost respect to them, their culture and to their elders past and present. We extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. We recognise that Australia is made up of hundreds of different Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander groups, each with their own histories, culture, language and belief system. Their relationship with country remains of utmost importance as it is the foundation of culture, family, kinships, songlines and languages. Diabetes Australia is committed to improving health outcomes for all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people affected by diabetes and those at risk. So now I will hand over to Beck and we'll start today's webinar. Thank you.
Before Beck start, sorry Beck, we might be interrupted by a phone call. I've been waiting for an appointment and we kept missing each other, and this appointment is quite crucial that I need to have it. So if the phone rings, you must excuse me if I have to go and answer it to get the appointment.
Oh, no, that's absolutely fine. Thank you. And this will be recorded, so if you miss anything, you'll get it sent. But I know we all know what important phone calls are like, so not a problem. And thanks for letting us know.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem, but so keep your ear out for that phone call.
Yes.
But actually, New, because I know Deb already, and Deb can introduce herself again because this will be recorded. But New, can you tell me what type of diabetes you have and a little bit about yourself? Because it's a small webinar today, I'd like to really get to know you a little bit more. Can you tell me a bit about yourself?
Okay, I have type 2 diabetes and it was discovered and it's hereditary in my case because I've been fit, but because of being Asian genetic, it runs in my family, so I couldn't escape that. But on top of that, I also have heart issues. So in 2 years ago, today actually, I had heart surgery. I had a heart attack and I had heart surgery. So in the last few days, to sum it all, the last few days, my heart's been not good. So I'm waiting to get a call to get a CT scan to find out if there's any other issues with my heart. Yeah, and then not only on that, but why I'm joining this group today is because I don't just have problem with finding food, the right food to eat as being diabetic, but also because I'm Asian, so it's hard to find Asian food to fit into that as well, and then having to meet the requirements of the heart health food on top of that. And then, sorry to make it complicated, just recently, as in the last month, I discovered that I am wheat and dairy intolerant. So my diet is completely out of whack. And so, yeah, so that's why here I am. Why I need to learn more about what food to eat to meet those requirements.
No, that's a great background. Can I ask you what part of Asia do you originate from?
From Vietnam.
Oh, one of the best diets in the world.
No, it's not, because if it is, we wouldn't have a high number of diabetics. Apparently, it's quite strong in Vietnam, And
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, a couple of things, because it can cause what I say messy head syndrome. You're thinking about heart health, you think about diabetes, you're thinking of your cultural background, and many cultural backgrounds have a staple of, let's say, rice or maybe potato, and people say you can't have that because of diabetes. But I can assure you, whenever I do meal planning, I do tend to look at more Vietnamese type cuisine. Now, it may not be all the traditional dishes, but hopefully you'll find today you don't have to change the quality of the foods that you eat. It may be just the quantity and a few food swaps to get those blood sugars in control and to keep a healthy heart. But there may be family history. I'm thinking of heart disease too. So you can have the healthiest diet in the world and still get diabetes, like you said, but also heart disease. But I say to people, do not despair, because that's what's probably kept you alive. If you've got a family history of heart disease, you had a heart attack last year and you survived and you look healthy, probably a feather in your cap is keeping to a healthy lifestyle your whole life. That's what can prevent, death. So I'm quite serious when I say this, because sometimes we feel like we're behind the 8 ball. We get this diagnosis of Deb has type 1 diabetes. You think, man, why did that happen? But not to despair. There's so much you can do with your lifestyle. And I'm very excited that you have a Vietnamese background, because it is a very good cuisine. Sometimes, like I said, you just need to do a bit of food swapping and a bit of experimentation to make sure your blood sugars are in control. And what you'll find from today, if you eat whole foods from scratch, things, just wholesome foods, and watch the portions, you don't have to read a food label. You do not have to change your cultural cuisine at all. In fact, I embrace your cultural cuisine. It doesn't matter if it's African. A lot of people from African background have a high rate of diabetes, and they say, I can't eat the sweet potato, the plantain. Yes, you can, just don't eat as much. There's ways around it. And there's ways around. You don't have to get rid of your culture. Keep the culture, maybe a few tweaks. Yeah.
Okay.
So see what we come up with today. And I'm also only too happy, because I want you to get that important phone call, only too happy to take individual questions personally. If you're not sure about your specific diet as well, I'm happy to work with you on that, because I think there's not a problem with it. We just got to not panic and maybe just a few tweaks.
Yes, because I attend one of the diabetes run by Diabetic Victoria session recently, and I walked away more confused than ever. And what I'm confused about is this unit exchange.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I have no idea. I mean, if you can give it to me in grams where I can weight the food, but not 1 unit and 2 unit, that just lost me.
Yeah. And exchanges, sometimes it works for people. I'll let Deb have the stage in a minute. Sometimes, when you have type 1 diabetes, carbohydrate counting is very important. And so 1 exchange means 15 grams. It's good to keep in mind when you have type 2, because you're just talking about portion caution. But I know if we go off air and you send me a little food diary and tell me how much you eat, you might say, Rebecca, I have 2 fist sizes of cooked rice or noodles with my meal. I know exactly how much that is. And then you can go away going, you know what? The main golden rule is no more than a fist size of cooked rice noodles. You don't have to do the exchanges. Okay. So the eye-hand method is easier. This much will be about 15 grams. You don't have to worry about counting. You want to just live your life. And the trick will be, and Deb can talk you to, she's blue in the face. I mean, she's monitoring all the time her blood sugars. 2 hours after you eat will be the trick. Oh, my blood sugars are in control because I kept that portion. Or, oh, I went to my sister's birthday and I had a little bit too much. That's why it's 11. And we're going to do that. That's okay. But I encourage you, don't worry about numbers and all that. If that doesn't suit you, we can make it much easier.
Yeah. Because I've been following the CSIRO
diabetic
food guide, but like I mentioned just recently, where I've been diagnosed with wheat, not exactly gluten, but wheat and dairy intolerant. I've been told to eat prebiotic food, not just probiotic. That's a tablet, but then prebiotic. So I'm just completely and utterly stressed out. I mean, I try not to get stressed, because that is the downfall of the diabetes and the heart. So now I'm just saying, I can't have salt, I can't have sugar, I can't have wheat, I can't have this, I can't have that, and I feel like I'm just going to go out and drop dead because life is just so boring and it becomes
Absolutely.
antisocial because you go out and you eat and then you're sitting there looking and thought, I can't eat any of this. So yeah, so if you could help me out, I'm
It's like you're eating air. But remember,
Wow.
sugar's here to stay, salt is here to stay. So soy sauce, for example, or your fish sauce, it's how much we use. It's okay. Sugar, a little bit, like, you know, from fruit is okay. If you went out for dinner, have what you want. If it's now and then, have what you want. But if it's, and that's 20% of the time, 80% of the time is when you're at home cooking. And I think for you, it's only going to be portion. The quality of your food, I'm sure, is very good. We just have to watch the portions. And like I said before, your blood sugars will tell you whether they're out of it, whether you need to tweak the portion or not. Okay. So there's nothing you have to cut out. With the wheat thing from a Vietnamese cuisine, you can have the vermicelli noodles. There are konjac noodles. That's one of my tips. Konjac noodles comes from the konjac plant, and they are low, very, very, very low carb noodles. So you can have noodle salads with konjac noodles.
And Beck, the soy sauce substitute, it's not a substitute, tamari is wheat free.
Exactly. Okay. Tamari, exactly.
But isn't the white, like the rice noodle, isn't that high in carbohydrate?
It is carbohydrate rich, but we just watch the portion. So you can imagine a Vietnamese salad, right? And, you know, this is only from I've seen restaurants, my darling. I haven't actually, it's on my bucket list. I haven't been to Vietnam yet. But my idea of, and I did an Asian inspired meal plan a couple of months ago. My idea of a Vietnamese salad is a handful of your noodles, but then you've got your grated cabbage and carrot and all the low carbohydrate vegetables. So you're complementing your meal always with carbohydrate. So rather than a big bed of rice, we say a scoop of rice on top. Or rather than a big plate of noodles, you add a handful of noodles and mix it through with your vegetables. So you're still having all those rice products. So if you're wheat and dairy intolerant, you could go for more of those rice noodles back to your grassroots or soy-based noodles, not a problem. As Deb said, you know, the tamari, reduced salt tamari, that's wheat-free. You can do all that. And, you know, from being from an Asian background, there's more of a likelihood of wheat and dairy intolerance. So, yes. You know, genetically as well. So again, and then there'll be some tips I can send as well, but always think carbohydrate. Just because it's pure carb, rice noodles are very low sodium, low calorie. They're just carb rich. You just add a small amount and then bulk it up with protein and bulk it up with all those low calorie, low carb veg.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scott, welcome.
Thank you.
And Scott, can you give us a bit of a background about yourself?
I've been type 2 diabetic now for about 30 years. I'm currently using some insulin to control that, and hopefully diet will do the trick as well. I suppose my interest in coming along today and listening today is that about 2 years ago, I had some health issues. I was significantly overweight and it impacted in a few ways, diabetic related. And so I decided then I should bite the bullet as long as it was low carb and go to a low carb diet. That was on the recommendation of some medical staff. I managed to lose about 17 kilos at doing that, and I've kept that off pretty much. Recently, I've been looking at the keto diet, but it scares me a bit, and I've tried a few sort of keto supplements to what I've been eating because they generally tend to be low carb, but a blood test last week showed that my cholesterol's gone up, and so I suppose that I'm sort of thinking now, trying to weigh up one way or the other, which way I should go. Should I sort of maintain the keto style, or should I perhaps, my doctor said my control is so good, I should be looking to increase the amount of carbohydrate in my diet. So
smart doctor.
So again, it's all a bit scary though sometimes.
It is, because, and I think this is such an important, is such an important point because it's such a common issue. I mean, you try to manage the blood sugars and the cholesterol goes up. So the happy medium would be a lower carb, but not a keto, because from a science-based point of view, the long-term studies show a diet full of plant foods, so the Mediterranean diet, not only helps you reduce the risk of chronic disease like diabetes, or helps with heart disease, it helps to prevent certain cancers and dementia. So I would say absolutely. The good thing is you've gone from extreme. So to introduce a little bit of carb would be great. Now, what I'm saying, when I say that, it doesn't mean going back to lots of slices of toast at breakfast. Bergen, for example, have a low carb bread, which is very low carb, but really, really high in fiber. So you're putting the fiber back, because think of soluble fiber. That's the type of fiber in oats and your fruit and veg, soak up cholesterol like a sponge. So if you can, that happy medium is introduce a little bit of carb, or even it might be your favorite sourdough, but you keep to one small slice with the eggs on top rather than zero. I've never been, to be honest, a fan of keto because of the sustainability long term. Now, we use it in certain medical conditions, but I've seen people with lethargy, so tiredness, constipation, or when you go, I had one patient who went on a cruise and said, right, I'm going to go on a cruise and just enjoy myself. I'll get back to keto. But then she just ballooned because she went from super, super, super low carb to then enjoying herself, and then found it hard to get back on. So I would say that happy medium. And when you look at my meal plans and just a minute, darling. Okay, bring it here. I've just got my 4-year-old home today. When you look at my meal plans, you'll see that each meal keeps under 30 grams of carbohydrate or 20 grams of carbohydrate, but I don't go completely low carb, if that makes sense. Okay, Sophia. There we go. So we can talk a little bit more today about substitutes and how to, but like I said to Nu before, if you want to introduce carbs into your meal, like I said, it's just a scoop of those noodles and you're going to get about 20 grams of carbs. So if you can keep to under 30 grams per meal or 20 grams, absolutely fine. You're kicking goals. And then you can keep into,
That's about what I've been doing at the moment anyway. That's pretty much
perfect.
I just thought the keto sort of sounded interesting from a increasing the range of things I could eat. But
look, you can still do a bit. Yeah, you can still do keto in terms of, I've got one of my recipes, which is avocado eggs. So you're chucking an egg in an avocado. So it's basically no carb, but the fat you're using is the avocado. So with the keto, I'd say you can increase the fat, but try to go for more of those good fats like the olive oil and avocado. So you can still have keto meals, but then certainly introduce more of those plant foods, low GI carbs, like carrots, like apple, all those really good plant foods that come from nature that really naturally keep our cholesterol down and prevent bowel cancer, because Australians really at high risk of bowel cancer, and we don't get enough fibre in the diet. So I think you've got a beautiful happy medium, and that's where I sort of sit when I do meal planning. Now, Deb, over to you.
So I'm living with type 1 diabetes, and so I do carb counting. I have to do carb counting, so I can dose my insulin. And I guess for me, it's I love pre-diagnosis. I loved rice, pasta, potatoes, maybe, but mostly, and I guess those are the things that I miss the most. I have found that.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, so they're a brand. You can only get them online, and they have a fettuccine, they have a spaghetti, they have noodles, they have rice, kind of, and they're varying ingredients. I think the fettuccine is the fettuccine is soy. A lot of them are soy based, and one of my questions was for you, Beck, was how do you feel about soy in the diet? And there's I read mixed things about, can you have too much soy, that sort of thing. These are all organic, so I don't know whether that makes a difference with
Yep, no,
quantities.
good point. I love that you got that as an idea. Soy is fine in moderation, like you're not going over the top with it. Absolutely fine.
Okay.
Not a problem at all. And when you look at the Japanese diet, it comes like your soys in your tamari or soy sauce. It comes from your tofu. If they're not a processed soy, it's not a problem.
Okay.
Which that's a great option. And I know I've forgotten the company's name. Let me have a look at my email because I sent it to a colleague yesterday. Let's have a look here. Here we are. It was Slendia store. Slendia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you
so
can get that in Coles and Woolies.
Yeah,
Slendia.
so Coles and Woolly, Slendia have noodles. Yep, so rice-based noodles. They have lasagna sheets. They also have rice, but for you new as well, there are low carbohydrate alternatives, and you kind of feel like you're having is it vermicelli or vermicelli? Excuse my vermicelli. It's like having the rice noodles, but they're much lower carb. But as I said before, your experiment will be, if you had just that scoop of noodles, like I said, tested your sugars 2 hours after, and if you don't have any weight issue and everything else is fine, then you could actually keep the traditional noodles in your diet if your sugars are less than 8, 2 hours after. Or like Deb, she's trying to reduce maybe the amount of insulin you're using, you might go for an alternative. Or if you're looking at losing a couple of kilos, then you could go for those very low carb options. Now, pasta itself, whether it's white or wholemeal, is low GI. It's made with egg as well, which I think could be one of the reasons why it can be lower GI, breaks down slower. So you would find if you had a scoop of pasta, if you did an experiment and had, let's say, some vegetables and protein, so chicken and vegetables, and added a scoop of pasta, tested your sugars 2 hours after, I guarantee your blood sugars would be lower compared to a scoop of the rice, with even if it's basmati, which is a lower GI rice. So pasta's a bit low, it is low GI. It's just that we overeat it. Well, I do if I really like it. And the thicker the noodle, the lower the GI. So you could go for a thick fettuccine, or that what's the other one? The big ribbons. I love that with ragu pasta. So you could still do that and then just keep to that portion, that small amount. I've got a video that I did a while ago where I actually present different meals and show you how visually a meal can look very different. So I think I've got meat and vegetables, and I do the scoop of rice on top, and then I've got one that's a bed of rice, and one's like 80 something grams of carb, and the other one's about 16 grams. So you can trick the brain, or as Deb has suggested, there's alternatives. And for you, Scott, a lot of these alternatives are very, very, very high fiber. So you're going to be ticking the box for cholesterol lowering.
I've used the Slendia noodles. The trouble with Coles and Woolworths is they only sell the edamame bean versions these days.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
the soy versions you can get online, and you can go to health food shops and find them there as well. But they're a bit harder to track down.
That's true. Oh, Angie's just put this is the good thing with online shopping now. And if you spend a certain amount, delivery can be free. So Ange just sent that. But also with the, like I said, Bergen and Samson's Pantry is another wrap bread that you get in Woolies and Coles, which has a good texture. You know, I remember years ago, and I'd be suggesting lower carb wraps, and it was mountain bread, which is lovely, but it would always tear. But these Samson's Pantry, they have the lower carb wraps, and they are high fiber, high protein, and low carb. So they make an excellent option when you're doing wraps, or you could do an egg baked tortilla in the morning. So one of my recipes, I've got the tortilla low carb bread, and then you add the eggs in and veggies. Really, really, really yummy. And always check out the Diabetes Australia website, because all my recipes are being loaded on every month. And that, like I said before, just like your following, Scott, is and the same as Debbie's, is lower carb, but also those Mediterranean diet principles: high plant foods, lean protein, give yourself some good fats, and never go over a certain carb amount unless you're going out for dinner. Then I don't care. We expect those high levels, and we want life to be interesting. Like Nu said, what's the point in living if everything's going to be no this, no that, no this, no that? And you'll see in my recipes, I might use a bit of, like I said, the fish sauce or reduced salt tamari. I might use a little bit of maple syrup for my high protein granola. I use sugar and salt, but I add it through by the eye, so we know how much we use rather than hidden. Yep.
And you can get a sugar-free maple syrup.
You can
Now,
indeed.
if you were to taste pure maple syrup and then taste this sugar-free maple syrup, it's poles apart, but it still has a maple syrup flavour. So if you, yeah.
Yep, definitely. The other thing I was going to mention, which Deb knows about this, almond flour. I tend to use, when you look at your pantry essentials, I use almond flour to crumb. So to crumb schnitzel, like do chicken schnitzel. You can use the panko breadcrumbs. I do that when I'm sometimes do a half almond flour, half panko breadcrumbs. That's the pure rice ones. But the almond, I'll put up a recipe on the website. I do have a couple of them. But the almond flour, if you mix with some dried herbs with it, a little bit of salt, pepper, you can use that to crumb chicken schnitzel. You can put them in patties instead of the breadcrumbs. Thank you, that's the word. And also for baking. So I've got a banana bread I've got made, which is just pure almond flour, so it is gluten-free as well. And for you, Nu, when you're looking at reducing wheat, so almond flour is great. And if you look at the nutrition information, so per 100 grams flour, white flour, which is traditional for doing crumbing and for baking, right? 73 grams of carbohydrate per 100 grams, and almond flour only has 5. Now, almond flour has 4 times as much fibre and twice as much protein. So you can see using nuts in your cooking make a real difference. And the almond flour gives, or almond meal, I should say, gives it a really yummy, nutty flavour, taste. Was that a phone call?
That was me. That was my wife checking up on me.
I was going to say, it was a UFO out there. Yeah. Just tell her that you're having a conversation with 4 lovely women.
Online. She'll love that.
Oh dear. Oh, we don't want any heart failure, please. But can you see the difference in the nutritional value? And like I said, you don't have to go completely cut all the white carbs out, but if you're crumbing things often, look, almond meal actually has a beautiful flavour. It really does. And the same with, we've just discussed the pasta and rice and noodle alternatives, but you can also do the spiralised vegetables, the carrot and zucchini ribbons, which is really nice. I stir fry that in a bit of sesame oil, and it's got such beautiful flavour. And sometimes when you think of noodles, sometimes they just are there to bulk out a meal. But using that sesame oil, a little bit of tamari gives it a beautiful, beautiful flavour. But also if you're in summer, using all those spiralised veg really bulks up a salad. And then you can use the sesame oil and the tamari to give it a really nice taste. And then you put some shredded chicken through it, for example. And then the dry pasta per 100 grams has 65 grams of carbs. The zoodles, if you've got the spiralised zucchini noodles, has 1.7. So there's massive differences. And you could do that. I've had clients who say, look, I've got people coming over and I want to do a pasta meal and then I want to do dessert and I don't want to double carb, so to speak. So what you could do, I had one client who said, I really, really like dessert and I really, really want that nice piece of cheesecake. So what she did was, I'm going to make a lower carb version of the pasta. So I'll do the zoodles, so then I can enjoy the carbs from the dessert rather than having heaps of carbs from the main meal and then heaps of carbs from the dessert, because she was having people over a lot. Now, if that was a once in a blue moon, like I said before, I'd go the real pasta in the dessert, whatever. But, there are ways of getting around it. Choose what you like. If you have a favourite meal, maybe keep it to the traditional with less amount like the pasta, or use those alternatives. Because as Nu said before, I'm glad you said that. And I love the honesty, because really, what's the point in living if you feel like you're on a prescriptive diet every day? It's hard enough every day testing your sugars, being told, oh, you've got diabetes. It's such a hard, and I'm only coming from someone without diabetes, from the many, many patients I've seen over the years. This is why we have these talks. It's so important to get support, and we have days where you just don't want to have diabetes and you just want to just put your head under the duvet and say, I don't want to think about it.
My biggest problems is meal plan, what to have for breakfast, what to have for lunch, and what to have for dinner. And I did see a dietitian as part of the diabetic plan thing. And I got told to eat every 3 hours. And I mean, it took a while for me to adjust to that. And then I discovered that for some reason, my body changed. And I discovered that if I didn't have something in 3 hours, I went into a state where I just blanked out. And it happened a few times where all of a sudden I forgot how to do things, like how to drive. I just completely blank out. And then I had to stop and have a muesli bar. And then 10 minutes later, I'm all right again. So I have energy again. And that's another problem. It's the in between meals. So although I follow the CSIRO diabetic recipe, I find it extremely difficult to do all the recipe because I can't handle the idea of having sardine for breakfast, for example.
Oh, bless you.
Oh,
Me
it's
either.
just
Me either.
Mm, yeah,
I'm with you.
My
and
kitten
you.
has that, and I get in
And-
trouble
and-
because it stinks out.
I'm going to say that's for my cat.
Oh yeah.
you know,
Oh,
and
no.
and
We're
some
gonna,
some of the food is just so foreign, like the zoodle.
yep.
I bought the thing to make the zucchini noodles, but then the recipe asked for it to be raw, and I can't eat raw things like that, nor can I have cold soup. I'm not a cold soup. Asian people don't eat cold soup.
So, yeah.
Unless you're Japanese, but you know, if you're not Japanese, it's really a nightmare to eat cold soup. I mean, so my biggest issue is having a meal plan that I can follow, and so far I'm unable to follow anybody.
Well,
And
Nu,
I'm hungry, and then I blank out, and then it's a vicious cycle.
so Nu, do you mind me asking, did you test your blood sugars when you went low and went blank? Did you know what your blood sugars were at that point in time?
No, because I was in the car. I mean,
Ooh,
I just got
okay.
out of the gym. I just done exercise.
Exercise. Okay.
So I went to the gym and I got in the car, and I for the life of me, I just completely forgot how to drive. And I couldn't reverse, and then it frightened the living daylight out of me because
Yep.
I didn't know what was happening. And
It sounds,
then and it happened not just that one time, but it happened another time where I was so horribly hungry that luckily my husband drive, and when we got home, I just opened the car door, completely utterly blanked out, and have no idea how to help him. Just went in and start shoving my face with whatever I could find my hand on.
yeah.
And that's where the problem lies. I need
Mm-hmm.
healthy diabetic food that I can get my hands on quickly, not just nuts. Please don't tell me to eat nuts because
Yeah, no.
I'm nuts out.
Yeah. It sounds like you've had a potentially a hypo. When your blood sugars are very low, that's when cognitively you can't function. So the first tip I would say is test the sugars, because if they're below 4, we need pure glucose in your system. So well done for getting a muesli bar. You had some sort of carbohydrate to get in the system. It worked. And exercise also lowers the blood sugar. So you're doing a really good job. My concern as well, maybe you're not getting enough carbohydrate in the day. You may not need to eat zoodles, my darling. I think back to your traditional foods, you don't have to have sardines on toast. I wouldn't. My cat has it. And well done. Like, the motivation is phenomenal. I would prefer you to have, sorry, my accent again, it's PHO, pho, your soup, pho. Yep. That is one of the healthiest breakfasts you could ever have, lunch or dinner. It's just how much of those rice noodles we put in there. So what I will do is after this call is I'll get your details, and I want you to tell me in an email, or you can write it down and take a photo, what you like to eat every day. Regardless of the diet, what do you like to eat? What are the breakfasts that you like, not what you've been told to eat? And I guarantee you the foods that you usually like to eat are going to be okay. We might need to tweak the portions, but I just don't think you're getting enough carbohydrate. It sounds like you're hypoing because you've done such a phenomenal job, but I think there needs to be a bit more carb in the diet.
Yes, because after these few incidents, I've been told to carry jelly beans.
Jelly beans. Yep.
And also I can't go anywhere without either an apple or a muesli bar because of this incident. Yeah, and you know that there was that incident not that long ago in Dalesford where the man had diabetes and he crashed. That's my biggest fear, that either I have a heart attack or have one of these diabetic episodes due to diet. Yeah, and so I just have no idea.
Sorry, Nu. A couple of things that came to my mind is when you go, after you've done your gym session, before you drive, do your finger prick, because we all, whether we're type 1 or type 2, we all have to be over 5. Our reading has to be over 5 before it's safe to drive. So, yeah, that would be I do that every time I go to the pool. After I've done a session, I will always, I've got a CGM so I can check easily. And that might be something that Nu and Scott might do because they last, it depends on which one, but around about the 2 week, just to do it for 2 weeks, a CGM, and just to see what you're eating, what effect it has on your blood glucose levels. It's much easier than having to finger prick 20 times a day to try and do that. But it sounds to me perfect what Beck's saying. You're just not getting enough carbohydrate.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize that I have to carry those horrible prickly things with me. I don't like needles, and because I'm on blood thinner, my fingers get all bruised.
Yes. And it may be worth, if you're in a position where you can afford the CGMs, that may be worth it for you.
What is that? Sorry, I don't know.
So it's a continuous glucose monitor. I can't pull up my.
You mean that thing that you attach to your?
Yeah. It's a flash drive.
I've got a cover over that one.
It is a game changer, Scott. Absolutely.
Oh, it's brilliant. So, and then I haven't. It speaks to an app on my phone, and it tells me what it uploads. I think it's either every 2 minutes or every 5 minutes. I can't remember. My blood glucose levels. So that's me at the moment. So that shows what my blood glucose levels have been doing, and it's just constant. And that lasts 2 weeks.
Okay. Well, there's another scary thing. Sorry. So
I understand. Yeah, I understand that. And I was as a type 1 even, I was very reluctant to, when they became available to me, I was very reluctant to use them. And this was pre us getting them subsidised even. But after the first 2 weeks, I thought, this is amazing. This is a game changer, because I had to finger prick 20 times a day. Just that was freedom.
I use the Libra 2, Libra Freestyle one now, and if you haven't used one before, you can get a sample one for $15.
Yes.
Just even go up to your pharmacy and they can give you the details there, and it will honestly change the way that you look at what you eat, when you eat. It's not so much the numbers that it gives you, because they're not entirely accurate, but the trends. I'll show you when you eat something, if it gives you a spike, and that's what's changed my eating habits significantly. I know that there are some things that I thought were good and that weren't going to affect my blood glucose that can make it skyrocket.
Yeah,
and that's from my reading. The spikes are just as bad as the super lows as far as your health is concerned.
And is it a needle that pierces your skin?
It's a very small filament.
It's very fine. And when you think about it,
it absolutely doesn't hurt. I can
I
promise
had one
you.
in two. I had one in two as a practitioner. We had to do it, and and the thing is, if you think about 2 weeks of, we still encourage finger pricking, but when you're coming out of the gym and you just scan it, it doesn't hurt. It's just the sound that's more scary when you insert it.
And you don't even have to scan anymore.
Well, that's true. Exactly. Yeah, true.
That's
true.
right.
It's
And
automatic.
you can see where Deb had the reading 5.8 and the arrow was like this. It meant that it's steady. But then, as Scott was saying, if you can see the trends, and I'd guarantee, let's say you came out of the gym and you saw it and the arrow goes down, that's showing you your sugars are dropping. So that means, let's say you were 4.8, you think, oh, I'm dropping down quickly. To prevent that hypo under 4, then you eat your muesli bar and then you go back up again, and it will capture those hypos rather than getting super hungry and getting below 4. Then you've got to eat all this sugar and then you feel guilty and then you go back up again. So it can really be a game changer. But one step at a time. Maybe the first thing you do is when you finish at the gym is to do a finger prick and then have your beautiful snack. Maybe just that first thing, and keep in your mind if you're at the pharmacy to have that conversation. But just from a safety point of view, just one small step is just to finger prick after the gym. And I'm going to get your email because I'd really like to go through your eating plan and we can readjust it. So you're not going to be hungry. You can eat the foods that you like and we'll capture any of those hypos. They're going to happen now and then, but for you, they shouldn't happen all the time if we rejig your plan. Yeah. How does that sound?
It sounds good. Yeah, it's a bit. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to be so difficult. It's just the nature.
Oh, you're not being difficult.
Because I also I work as a personal carer for seniors, so sometimes I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop to just have something to eat, and it affects everything horribly. And then, so of course, when I finish looking after them, that's when I hop in the car and start eating before I could drive. Yeah. You can't stop when you're looking after a seniors.
No.
No.
And at least if down the track you try one of the CGMs, you'll be able to see the trends when you're working. So you can keep working and you'll be able to have a little check, and then you might have something in your pocket just to have. But one step at a time. And you're not being difficult. That's why we have these sessions, because it's not just sending you meal plans, sending you information. It's talking about what's not working. What can we do to help each other? And that's why it's great you've got experienced people on the call, because they can give you tips and tricks as well.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
And if you can see the chat there, Nu, I've just put the link in for the free trial for the freestyle.
Oh, wow. Good stuff.
For the Abbott freestyle.
Sorry, I can't. I don't know what.
Up the top of your screen, Nu, that you should see a line with, it's got chat, Q&A, people, race. Across the top of your screen?
Oh, no, it's at the bottom.
Oh, it's at the bottom. Okay, chat.
Yeah.
Just click on chat.
Yeah. How do you want to share contact? Oh, no, that's not it.
My chat says isn't available.
Yeah. Can you send? Angie, mine won't do chat
Maybe
either.
we email Nu.
Or just Q&A.
Sorry,
I'll put it in the Q&A as well. Depending if you use the browser, Teams is a little bit funny. If you use browser or the app,
Safari,
you have one or the other. So I'll put it in the Q&A, that link for the it's a free trial, which I think is $15 for Freestyle Libre 2+ trial sensor.
Great.
Oh, okay.
Have you got that?
Yeah, I'll get to it. If you send an email, and I'll read it, because at the moment.
That's okay. Could you put your email in the chat, or do you know, or you can read it out to me if you like.
Oh,
we probably have it, don't we, Ange?
Chat. Oh, here, email. Okay. Hold on, just bear with me 1 second.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
Technology and I don't go together.
I'm not far behind you, don't worry. That's why Ange is in this call. She's my wing lady.
Okay, that's it. Oh, God. Okay, sorry.
All right.
Who do I send it to? It's a or type a message.
Oh, Scott, can I ask you, while Nu's doing that, with your lipid profile, so you had your total cholesterol, did you get told what your LDL cholesterol is, what your HDL is, and your triglycerides? Did you get a bit of a breakdown? Or
my doctor didn't give it to me yesterday, and I'm still waiting for the the app, the My Health app, to clear the results. So I don't know what it is just at the moment. He just said it had gone up from 3 to 5.
Oh, look, that's not too bad. That's not too bad.
I suppose it's just the trend, the upward trend.
It's the trend, correct. It's the trend.
Angie,
but
what is your email? Sorry, I'll just interrupt because it said it tells me to enter an email so I could send it to. It for some reason that's what it's asking for.
So you're trying to send an email, are you?
Yeah, it just I click on the link that said chat and it got chat and it did say to whom so I should put your name and it say no match found. So I don't know, sorry. It won't let me.
I might try and find what I'll do. I'll try and find your email in our system. Now, what was your surname, Nu? Is it? I found one in here. You're in Victoria, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Would your email be tan1389tan@outlook.com?
No.
That's not you?
No, that's not me. Mine will have exactly my name on it.
So what is your surname, Nu?
Hoang, Hoang.
Hoang. Upper Ferntree Gully?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, yes, I've got it here. I can send that to Beck and Beck can give you an email.
Thank you.
Keep in contact, Nu.
Thank you.
And Scott, it'd be interesting to know, what your breakdown is. Because you know about the different, like HEL is your healthy cholesterol, LDL, and then triglycerides, keeping that down. So be interesting to see how you go. But like you said, it's a trend. It's not bad, but it's just the trend. You're on mute.
I think Scott's just popped a question in the Q&A, Beck.
Oh, didn't see that. Okay. Q&A.
Scott, are you medicated for your cholesterol?
Yes. Yep. It's only a low dose. It's one of those things. I've never had an issue with cholesterol before, and I think it's like blood pressure and a few other medications that I've taken over the years. It's more a precautionary thing, and because of the benefits of having that in your system.
I've just seen your question. Are konjac noodles safe? Some online sources advise against eating them. I haven't read that. I don't know if it's a dose related, how much you eat. I'll have a look into that.
Yeah, just something I've read in. It's banned in some countries. Cognac is actually a banned substance in some European countries, and I wasn't sure what it was for. I have tried the cognac noodles before, and not overly impressed with them. I think if I'm going to eat noodles, like eating a pho or something like that, I'm going to have
put the real stuff in there and less of it. Exactly.
Yeah.
The only way I like them is if I use sesame oil. Like I use flavor to jazz it up. It's like when I make cauliflower rice, I use olive oil to crisp it up, and then cumin powder and smoked paprika. But I haven't read anything about that. It'd be interesting to have a little look at. But again, when you're looking at food on a budget, we've all felt the pinch with the increased cost of living. If we can just watch the portion, as I said to Nu before, and have your real noodles, just not as much, then you should be absolutely fine. Much, much cheaper as well compared to a lot of products. Yep. Now, the other thing, I've got a couple of things written here as well. Just looking through all my points. Oh, the other thing, when you're looking at heart health, but also when I do the meal plans, it's in 7 days. And the thing I always start off with are the proteins at dinner time. And I go with the National Heart Foundation recommendations in terms of how often to eat certain proteins. So when I write a meal plan, I'll include chicken twice a week. I'll include red meat twice a week, but that could be pork as well. So chicken twice, red meat twice, fish twice, and then one vegetarian. And so what I do is I have the template and I'll just go chicken, beef, fish, veggie, chicken, beef, whatever. And I just scatter it out and then that to give you a range of different proteins, so we're not getting too much of one thing. That's how I tend to do it, and then I drill down and come up with recipe ideas. And the same with breakfast. I mean, if you like the same breakfast every day, it doesn't matter. You can do that, or you can sometimes we have two. I interchange between two, whether it's an egg-based dish or some yogurt and berries and nuts and yeah. But keep it simple, and I try to use pantry essential ingredients.
And
Pantry essentials.
in your meal plans, the ingredients that you use, are they repetitive? Because I found that there's a lot of wastage as well when I go out and buy ingredients, and then I'm stuck with these herbs that I don't know what to do with afterwards, or spices that I don't know what to do with.
Yep. Yeah, I use the same sort. Like when you look at the pantry essentials I use, particularly with meats, I tend to use a lot of smoked paprika, and then with fresh herbs, I'll use coriander. But I try to make it in the meal plan. Let's say I make a soup, and I use coriander. I try to make sure we use another recipe with that herb again. And I always have alternatives. So my mum, for example, God love her, she doesn't eat a lot of garlic, doesn't like garlic. So she never buys fresh garlic. So with my recipes, I'll always say garlic powder as well. So you can have the garlic powder in the cupboard, or if you like fresh garlic, use fresh garlic. So I always try to make it realistic.
Yeah. Yep. And if it can be repeated, because you were just mentioned about garlic powder. So I use the garlic powder because I don't eat onion. So I use onion powder, and now they go rock hard. And I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I have that problem too, and I make my own garlic powder and my own onion powder.
God love you.
But they tell me that if you put a little bit of either arrowroot or corn flour, just a little bit, in your while it's fresh, put it and mix it through, it won't clump. It won't go hard.
So
I haven't yet tried it, but that's what my research tells me.
Good idea.
It's a bit late now because at the moment I've got them rock hard, and I'm about to get one of those hammer out and smash it.
Coffee grinder. No, put it in a coffee grinder.
Oh no, they're in that plastic tub, so you can't get them out. They're just stuck in there. And it's elbow grease, when you're trying to scrape them.
Use a drill.
Yeah, but it's not just that. It's you buy vegetables, and then they're not being repeated in other meals. By the end of the week, they go moldy, and then I have to throw. So it's such a waste, especially grocery these days are so expensive. To waste food like that is just. If you've got the freezer space, then perhaps store them in the freezer, the leftovers. Yeah.
As meal prep,
yeah. It's just mainly the vegetables and the fruit. They go to waste so quickly. Yeah.
And Nu, if you were cooking, is this recipes that you're not familiar with, or are these your traditional recipes? When you say wastage.
It's because I don't know how to cook. And so I follow this recipe, and then I'm stuck. And then I make them according to the portion.
Yes.
And then I'll be eating it till I'm blue in the face. I can't finish them because it's from 4. But my husband and I, we eat very little. So we end up having the same meal, and then I'll freeze them. But then, so no, I'm not very inventive when it comes to cooking because I'm learning. I'm learning to all this. So that's why I'm saying at the beginning that I'm quite overwhelmed because I have to learn to cook. I have to be familiar with all these herbs and spices and things. And so it's just too much at the moment. With all these heart health, diabetic health, and all that other issues too. So
back for you.
Yeah,
I wonder, Beck, whether it's a suggestion that would be beneficial for Nu and a lot of us is for Diabetes Australia to look at having a cooking day, a cooking session where we can actually do it, go through it step by step and make several recipes and then learn how to preserve the leftovers and and repurpose the leftovers even.
It's a great
Yeah,
idea.
it's
We
it's
could
also
probably
to
do that, Beck, and put it forward and do, even if it's not for an hour, like even if it's a bit longer,
Yeah.
and you
Part
just sort of
twos.
do it like this, but in the kitchen
Yep.
kind of thing, and making a couple of, you know, easy
yeah.
Absolutely.
freezable things. But and also just before Beck goes on, a tip I've found with the garlic powder or onion powder that you're using, and I used to have that as well, it went hard in the bottle.
Mm.
But it's because you hold it, if you're putting it into, say, a pot of bolognese sauce or something that you're cooking, and you're shaking it straight into that pot, and that pot's already steaming, the steam goes up into the jar, and it kind of, you know, that condensation, it makes it go hard because it gets a little bit wet because you're just
Okay.
shaking it straight into the hot pot and it's already steaming. So
Yeah.
I've learnt to measure it onto a teaspoon or shake it out and just put a pinch in rather than holding the whole jar over, because that seemed to be what was making it go hard.
Yeah.
That was my tip.
Yeah.
Good point.
So it's a learning curve for me at the moment.
Mm.
It's
Oh,
just that
excellent.
just when I had a diabetic, I got thrown with the heart and then thrown. So it's just at the moment, new health issue kept propping up. So having to find a way to eat in order to keep everything healthy is a struggle.
Mm.
Yeah. So at the moment, if I was to write down a list for you, Rebecca, what I eat every day, it will probably be comprised mainly of salad. That's it. That's all I'm living on,
We can
salad.
we can work on that, because in that list write down what you like. And what I can do as well is a lot of my recipes are one pot wonders, so minimal ingredients, and then you can use that as leftover for the next day. So once I get to know you more, then I can handpick, or you can have a look at the, I don't want to overwhelm you, but you can look at our website and see all the recipes, or I can, from our conversation and what you've emailed me, I can handpick recipes I think that you would like. And then you can have, for example, what I usually say to people when they're not a fan of cooking, but for whatever reason, is to have 2 chicken recipes on hand, 2 beef recipes on hand, 2 fish recipes, and 2 soups. And that's your little recipe book, and you alternate. And to keep it simple, and then you've just got those recipes that you can just keep going through. And then every few weeks, when you feel a bit more confident, add another recipe.
Mm.
And you'll see with a lot of my meal plans or recipes, they follow the same sort of base. I just change the protein, change the veg, change the spice, but it's kind of similar. There's a bit of a formula.
Yeah. So just one last question. So with all your service and with your guidance and help like this, is it a paying service, a fee, or sorry, I just need to know because I need to budget things at the moment to find out.
It's free. I could have just been cheeky and said $1,000 a minute, but it's all free, my darling. It's all free. This is no. I'm just joking. So, you know, this is why we call it United. It's about you, and we realized very early on, as I said before, it's not just about sending you an email. It's about listening to your needs. So hearing what you say gives me ideas about future meal plans and recipes. So it does not come as a charge. You contact me, I'll just wait to get your email, and we can start working on it one step at a time. And that's how we work. We're here to help you.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Yes. Oh, thank you. It's just that at the moment, every time, all my whole day
too much.
evolve around going from one medical person to another.
Yeah.
And it's like money just walking out the door, and I'm just
Too much.
thinking,
I understand.
I've got to, cut back everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll save money with the foods that we talk about. They're all pantry essentials. They're just basic recipes.
Yeah. Brilliant.
I
Thank you so much.
I can vouch for that. I've actually made some of Beck's recipes, and just, you know, easy, and I love them. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, because
Thanks,
the last thing I need is to buy another cookbook, because
Oh,
I
no.
kept buying these cookbooks.
Oh
and
yeah,
Never
I'm with
again,
you.
no.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Can
and
I just
know you
ask?
too.
Can I just ask Scott what you have for breakfast?
I buy Blue Frog low carb or keto cereal. I mix that with chia and oats, a small and do as an overnight an overnight, set it in the fridge, and then mix in some berries with it in the morning.
Okay.
And I have
And
that.
how many carbs would be in that?
I'd say there's probably close to 30 grams of carb
Okay.
with the berries. If I leave the berries out, it's probably closer to under 15.
Sorry, where is this product? Which state are you in, Scott?
I'm in New South Wales, but I do all my shopping at Coles or Woolworths for these sorts of things, so they should be all available nationally. But like so many things, if it's good for you, it costs a lot more. So I buy this. The Blue Frog is my favourite brand of
I have never
keto
heard of Blue
usually.
Frog. So.
Yeah, it's
I've
only a
never
small
heard
brand, and only Woolworths sells it. Or you can get it from health food stores, but it costs you about $15 a packet. So when it's on special from Woolworths, I'll buy half a dozen packets and store them away, that sort of thing. But mix it with some Uncle Toby's oats or some chia, or a combination of both. And I find that it does. It's funny. Some mornings it will spike my BGLs, other mornings not so much. And I don't mind it spiking if I'm going to the gym straight away afterwards, because it tends to bring it down a bit. But I've just got to be mindful of that. And usually that's not enough for breakfast. So I've been buying low carb bread rolls from Coles and having one of those. They're not bad. I do buy low carb bread. I buy low carb wraps, and the Mission low carb ones that have just come onto the scene are quite good ones. And I also buy products from a mob called No Grainer that are low carb. They're hard to find and they are expensive, but they are excellent quality. And like when I say expensive, for a little loaf of bread, it can be $15 for a loaf of bread. But it's the carb in it is less than two grams of carb per slice, so it's quite low. But it's expensive.
Is too much oats bad for you?
Oats are very good for you, and it would just be quantity. So some people can handle half a cup with yogurt and berries, and their sugars 2 hours after is great. Others can't, and they might need to cut it down to quarter a cup and maybe add some nuts to it. But we will work on that. Oats, if you like them, are very cheap and very, very good for you. So with you, Nu, I'm thinking you can get away with a bit more carb. And we'll work on that.
Yeah, it's just I wasn't sure if it's how much oats, and because I've read somewhere and they say that too much oat is bad for you.
No.
And,
if you ate too much, your sugars will go up. But if you've got a small portion, and if that's one of the foods that you like, so remember, I'm going to work with you on foods that you like, because I'm sure they're healthy. And if that's one of the things on your list, I'll give you an idea of, like, I buy a bag of the oats that are low, and we can get Coles or Woolies brand, really cheap. I don't have diabetes, so I just put a big handful in and put nuts and seeds and berries, and that will keep me going. Other days I'll have eggs. So we'll work on it. But that's one of the really good pantry essentials if you can get away with it.
Yeah, thank you. I think we've gone over time.
That's okay. That's because you're all too interesting. It's your fault. All of you.
We can go longer. It's fine.
Just because we've got a meeting now.
So let's talk about food's getting me hungry.
Lunchtime.
I just looked up the Blue Frog, and that looks really interesting. I think I'm going to get some of that myself. It looks like it's available at Coles and Woolworths.
Or around me, it's only available in Woolworths. Coles don't have it. They have some, but not. I buy the keto one, which is the lowest carb.
Yeah, I'm just seeing that they've got a couple of keto ones, and the flavors look really good.
Perfect.
And if you're adventurous enough, you could probably look at the ingredients on the back of the packet and make it up yourself.
Make your own.
Yeah.
I've recently found, but on only Coles, it's new. Coles sells it, bread where it is gluten-free, wheat-free, dairy-free. It's really great. It's not cheap. I mean, for a small loaf, it's about $6.50. But Coles so far is the only place that sell food that are wheat-free, dairy-free. Which by seeing that, I am guessing that there are a lot of people like me out there who are, and it's not just, yeah, it's not just gluten, it's wheat that is the
Yeah.
problem. Yeah, and dairy all in one go. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, so
worth keeping.
Coles
That's a
is good
challenge.
place. Yeah, it's a good place to get things at the moment, it seems. I've probably gone to a cave, so I'll see you later. I'll go and become
be in
eating
contact,
cave food. Salad.
No,
That's how I lived
No.
on salad.
no, we're
So
going to change
boring.
that, my darling. Don't worry.
I've converted, transitioned from, because it's getting cooler here, transitioned from salads for lunch to soups. And I just make up, I've got 3 or 4 different recipes, and I just make up a big batch of each of those, portion them into containers and shove them in the freezer. And then I've got, 3 or 4 weeks, and I can just choose whatever I want. Have something, a different soup every day if I wanted. And I actually was very proud of myself this morning. I've only just recently started making flatbreads and tortillas, and they're still, if you use wheat flour, it's still reasonably high carb for me. And I made a recipe this morning with almond flour. All it was almond flour, water, psyllium husk, and olive oil.
Ah,
And for a flatbread, they're okay, or a pizza base, they'd be great. For to wrap, to roll, I haven't mastered that. I don't know whether they'd be any good for that, but for a pizza base, brilliant.
Wow. Send me the recipe.
And I think there's only 5 or 6 grams of carb in it.
Yeah.
So
Fine.
yeah.
Rebecca, sorry, your recipe, are they suitable for other members of the family? Yeah,
You're not
who
on
are
a
not
separate diet. No, exactly. No, it's for the recipes I give. Everyone should be following the same sort of eating plan as you. So high fiber, low GI, protein rich. So the only difference is if your family want wheat pasta, then you might have the gluten-free pasta or whatever. But it's for the whole family. So there's no separate diet for you as such.
Yeah, because otherwise it's a nightmare trying to figure out how to cook for
Double the
different
costs.
people.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. No. It's the one size fits all for the family. Like I said, only if you want dairy-free something. But that won't
My husband jokes and says, because we are, I do primarily the bulk of the cooking in the house, and my husband jokes and says, well, if he ever becomes diabetic, he won't have to transition, meal wise, because that's how he eats now.
Yeah, it's just that my husband is quite slim, and eating what I'm eating, I think he's not only healthier but skinnier.
Well, we need to work on him too.
No. It's just trying to balance everything. That's all.
He just has bigger portion. You give him a bigger portion, and you're going to have carbs back in the diet, and he might have more carbs.
Thank you.
Easy.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
thank you, Beck.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Angie.
everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks
Ange.
for that. And if anyone has any questions or follow-up questions, feel free to pop them in Diabetes Connect. And these health hours, as you know, they run fortnightly, and we've got them. They're in Diabetes Connect up to the end of the year. So feel free to go in, look at your member events, and book into all of them if you want. So they're all there to register for now. So everyone can register for all of those now. No, I've sent Beck your email address in a message, so she has that there.
I'll email you this afternoon.
Good luck with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the best, Noo.
Should be fine.
Scott,
New
if you
is going to
have
have a
any
new plan.
questions-
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Scott, if you have any questions or anything at all as well, please feel free to message in Diabetes Connect. I manage the Diabetes Connect platform, and I have Beck in there as well as one of our admins. So please feel free to put any questions in there or to email us as well.
Yeah, but it's all that diabetic something. They're all new.
United.
Yeah, and I'm
Diabetes
struggling
United.
I'm at the moment I'm struggling to navigate my way
Navigate
through
it.
because I'm bombarded with so many email at the moment, and it's hard to keep up with all of that and trying to, but I'll get there. I'm
We'll
slow, but
focus
I'll
on
get there.
one.
just,
No,
just take your time and focus on one thing, because there is a lot of information that you're probably getting, you know, from all different sources. But if you do need any help with anything, please reach out, because that's what we're here for.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing and for your help. Thank you.
thanks for
Nice,
joining.
nice to meet you, Scott. Nice to meet you, New.
Thank you, everyone. I've been trying to make this a
Likewise.
more regular occurrence now. It's good.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thanks,
Go and
ladies.
book into all of those events.
Yeah.
See you again. Thank you.
Take
Bye,
care.
everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, bless.
Hang on. Stop.